My name is Monica Bolles. I'm a digital artist, audio engineer, and composer, and you just watched a brief recording of a live performance I presented as part of CubeFest at Virginia Tech back in 2019. The performance featured a custom instrument I built in Max MSP called Orbits and was played on the 140-channel speaker array at the Cube. The instrument sonifies data generated by Venus and Earth as they move around the sun and allows for digital and gestural control of a variety of parameters to create a spatial music live performance. For this presentation, I'm going to talk more in depth about the instrument and address some of the methods I used for sonification, spatial arrangement, and gestural control. The data set I used to generate the sounds in the instrument was developed by Hartmut Warm and was first published in his book Signature of the Celestial Spheres. The particular data set I used for Orbits calculates the position of Venus and Earth as they move around the sun every 4 days for 7 years. This image is created by drawing a line between Venus and Earth as they circle the sun for each day marked in the data set. You can see the data set here. The data calculates the position of Venus and Earth in relationship to the sun for every 4th day for 7 years. From those 2 points, you are also able to calculate the distance between the 2 planets. I use these numbers to generate different tones that make up the foundations of the Orbits instrument. Another data set I used was the Hitran database. The Hitran data is used to simulate the transmission of light in the atmosphere and is calculated for different molecules. The data creates a frequency spectrum for each individual molecule. I adjusted the frequency spectrum to occupy the audible frequency range and created tones for each molecule present in the atmosphere of Venus and Earth. I then created a tone for each planet based on the molecular makeup of their atmosphere. I used these tones as the basis for some of the instrument's sounds. Altogether, I created 8 different sounds that have various variables that you can control in live performance. For the initial performance of Orbits, I used a 16.1 channel speaker array. However, I made it easy to adjust for different sized arrays. I used ambisonics combined with individually addressing speakers to be able to create a fully immersive sonic experience. An example of one of the tones that I created that addresses discrete channels is what I call triangles yay. The tone is created with a simple triangle wave oscillator. The frequency or pitch of the oscillator is controlled by the distance between Venus and Earth. As we move through the data set, the following data point is played in the consecutive speaker. The larger the speaker array, the more data points are playing at any one time. This creates an interesting beating effect and can also be explored by the audience by moving around the space. Most recently, I have been working with creating tone clusters that I can place and move within an ambisonics field to generate different sounds and effects. For this instrument, I created 2 tone clusters based on the data from Venus and Earth and used the respective positions of the planets as they moved around the sun to decode to variable speaker arrays using ambisonics. I also heavily used the MC objects in Max MSP to be able to easily adjust to a variety of changing outputs and multi-channel arrays. To control the instrument, I used a combination of Mi.Mu gloves and an iPad. Kelly Snook, one of the co-developers of the Mi.Mu gloves, has been kind enough to help me experiment and explore some of the different functions of using gesture to control sound as it moves and plays within space. And so now I'll be playing a quick demo of some of the different sounds that the instrument creates so you can get an idea of how that all comes together.
So everything is run off of the transport. You can change the meter, which just affects some of the ways that's the rhythms that some of the instruments within this play at. You also have control of the tempo, and the tempo is associated with how fast you move through the data of Venus and Earth moving around the sun. So I'll play some of the sounds so you can hear them. So this first one is called Triangles Yay. one is just kind of a buildup of triangle waves as they iterate over the distance between Venus and Earth as they're moving around the sun. The next sound is called distant melody. Again, you can change the tempo and it'll move through those sounds faster. You can also change how quickly that sound is playing or how many beats it's playing. The next sound I'll play is called Venus Solo. So similar to the distant melody, you can change how quickly beats are playing. With this one, you also have a frequency multiplier. And it should change how the frequency of what these frequency numbers are being multiplied by. So it can give you a bit higher tone or lower tone depending on what you want. This is Earth Solo. And again, same kind of things you can change. The next sound is called Molecule Dance. There's no variables to that sound. And then the last sound over here is Triangles of Death. With this, you can change these mod values. There's some really beautiful low frequency tones you can get out of that sound. I also have these Earth and Venus. So these are sounds that are being they're being played and moving around using ambisonics and being decoded binaurally. And this is the ambi Earth. And then finally, I have a vocal effects unit that I've built. Other kinds of instruments could run through it. It's a delay. So I'll take out my voice that's normal and just kind of give you a sample of some of the things you can do. Okay. So that's kind of a example of all the different sounds that the instrument makes.
Thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to reach out to me at monica@resonantinteractions.com with any questions, comments, or even if you just want to connect and chat. I love meeting new people that are interested in this kind of space. Thank you again.